here we go. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Raw Obsidian Knitting Podcast. My name is Kris, and this is my corner of the internet where I like to talk about all things knitting, spinning, sewing, whatever I can get my hands on. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back and spending some time with me. And if you're new here, welcome. So glad to have you a part of the community. Let's see. There has been a lot that has happened in the last few weeks since the last episode. My husband is back in school teaching. Lots of time was spent knitting and starting some new sewing projects, which has been really fun. I will say the last week has been very difficult. My sweet little kiddo Zaz is still teething. But like it got worse. I thought she had 2 teeth coming in. Turns out it's 4 teeth coming in. And it's been an experience, to say the least. But you know, it's just all part of it. All part of the process that is becoming a whole person, I guess. You know, getting teeth, growing, puberty, being a teenager. But yeah, because of that reason, I haven't really been knitting as much in the last week. I've mostly been holding my little baby and cuddling and providing cold beverages and snacks to help relieve pain. But other than that, everything feels so good. Fall is upon us, so to speak. Although the weather here where I live, today is supposed to be 102 degrees Fahrenheit, and the rest of the week is supposed to be between 90 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm just wondering, like, fall, girl, where you at? Like, everyone else keeps talking about how you're here, and yet I don't see you anywhere. You are late. And it's not like in a fashionable way. It's like not cute. Like, I'm ready to drink a pumpkin spice latte in like 55 degrees or below. I want to feel the chill, and yet all I feel is sweat and the need for lemonade. So, if it's fall where you are, please send some of that my way. I would really appreciate it. I'm really tired of the heat. I'm really tired of it. Yeah, it's a lot. I want to wear sweaters. The only reason why I'm wearing a sweater indoors today is because the AC is going. And that is it. That's literally, if there was no AC, I would be in a tank top and shorts, not sweats and a sweater. But I digress. Let us talk about some cool new things that are coming to the podcast, to my life, etc. If you follow me on Instagram, you have heard me talk about Club Obsidian, and it's basically a really wonderful way that you can support me and the podcast and everything that is going to happen beyond the podcast. So what it is, like I said, a way to support me. It starts at $3 a month. You can do more if you'd like. And you can subscribe for Club Obsidian on my Ko-fi. I'll have the link below. Some benefits that you'll receive for being a part of Club Obsidian is exclusive video posts, exclusive blog posts. I have a shop that I'll be launching within the next year, and you will get Club Obsidian exclusive discounts for my shop, a chance to win a shout out or get a shout out here on the podcast as a thank you for being a contributor. Yeah, and just so much more. I have so many plans, so if that sounds really awesome to you, please subscribe. If it's not something you can do right now, that's okay, no pressure. You can still like and subscribe to this podcast. It's super helpful to me. You can share this podcast with your friends, follow me on Instagram, and if at some point you want to send a one-off thanks for being cool, buy me a coffee, etc., you can still, for a chance to get an awesome shout out and thank you for your contribution. Is that it? Yeah. But yeah, a new thing that I've launched, all of the info right below. Click the link to subscribe if you want. Now let's move on to the content, the reason why y'all are here. Thank you for sticking with me through all of that housekeeping. I didn't mean to blab for so long. But yeah, let's get to the knitting. Let's talk about works in progress. So my first work in progress is a pair of Patents slip stitch socks, but I modified it. So here is my current sock. It's got a very defined slip stitch rib pattern going on, and I really love it. So the pattern, it's a free pattern, so I don't feel too bad alluding to secrets. The pattern is basically like a knit 3 slip 1, but instead of doing that, I purl 3 slip 1, and it creates this awesome, like, super defined texture. And yeah, I was watching, what's really funny is I was watching Rachel of Night Sky Knitting. I was watching her podcast, and I was knitting on these socks, and then lo and behold, she had already finished a pair of the patent slip stitch socks, but actually followed the pattern. So if you want to go check out her podcast and see what those look like, feel free. Her podcast is super great. If you're not following her or subscribed already, you should. But yeah, I love the way hers turned out. I am just personally seeking like super defined, rich texture. And I don't want it to be subtle. I want it to be like overt. So that's why I opted to do the purl instead of the knit. And I'm knitting these on 1.5 millimeter, right? Yeah, no, US 1.5, 2.5 millimeter, 9-inch circular needles from Chigu. I'm obsessed. Talked about it in my last podcast about knitting on my last pair of socks, and I love them. Yeah, and so this has been really fun to knit on. The yarn is once again a mystery stash yarn. It had absolutely no tag on it when I received it. I also received it in this cake. I've had this yarn for 6 years. But here it is in the cake. I love this color. It's very fall, like a rusty orange. It's coming up a little bit lighter on the camera, but it's actually a little bit darker. And it does have a little bit of stretch to it. Let me see if I can show you. I don't know, I'm like pulling it. I hope you can see, but it has a little bit of stretch to it, and it's kind of interesting how that works. And I'm like, I think I can't tell because I have horrible eyesight. It's not too bad, but I'm pretty sure that either there's like nylon in this, like stretchy nylon, or it could just be the fiber itself is just bouncy. But it feels like a merino nylon blend. I really wish I knew what this yarn is, but I love it. So, and I've used it before in a shawl, my therapy shawl that I made, and yeah, it's very interesting when you block it. It keeps the integrity. It's actually like, it doesn't stretch out. It stays in. So, which is what I like, what I actually want in a sock. So this is working out pretty good. I'm really enjoying the knit. I highly recommend everyone giving this Patton's slip stitch sock a try. So that's that. I'm making slow progress on it because, you know, teething children, but it's been really fun to knit on. I'm very happy with it. All right. My next whip is my Cargill sweater. So I have made quite a bit of progress on this. I finished a skein, or a ball I should say, of yarn for the body, and so I started knitting the sleeve, and she's looking so good. I'm very proud. It really does look like a tiny baby sweater, but I'm reassure you it will stretch, and it is very stretchy. I really love how it's all turning out. It's just beautiful. I really feel the pressure of having to, like, because Esperanza, Zaz, my kid, has needed so much of my time, I feel horribly behind on knitting on my sweater, and it's really devastating because I truly love knitting this sweater. It's very fun for me. Another contributing factor as to why I haven't been super speedy at knitting on this sweater is I do have chronic hand pain, and knitting on this for extended periods of time actually hurts me, which is like super unfortunate. But I really try to like push through, but I don't want to get to a point of hurting myself because I've done that before, and it really sucks, because then I literally can't use my hand for much of anything, and as a parent that's like super not okay. So I've been really trying to take my time with this. I'm absolutely going to be using every shred of time that I have before the deadline to get this done. I am confident that if I utilize nap times and bedtime and even some of my like leaving Zaz to hang out with Dad while I get stuff done time to knit on my sweater, I will get this done. Yeah, it should be good. So aside from my deadline woes and my knitting woes when it comes to time, I did add an I-cord. Yeah, I did add an I-cord neckline to this instead of the folded rib neckline that the pattern calls for, and that's mostly due to the fact that this yarn, I mean, it's really lovely. I know it's going to be durable, especially for like rolling around the house with a toddler, but it's also super warm and like just the lightest bit scratchy enough to irritate my neck. The reason why I know this is because I had a shawl that I made with this yarn and I frogged it to make this Cargill sweater. And that shawl was definitely warm, but it drove my neck nuts. So that's why I opted for the neckline to be I-cord. There was another test knitter in the group that did that, and I was like, you know, that's a wonderful idea. I definitely want to do that, and did it. So what I'm going to do is the neckline and the cuffs I'm going to do in I-cord, and then I'm going to do the hem in the ribbing just to make sure it stays secure around my waist and actually is able to stretch, you know? But those are just all the fine details. I'm really having fun with this. Well, as I hold it up against my neck and it gets itchy. But I'm really excited not only to finish this, but to start another one of these. And I have a couple of different yarns in mind that I'm actually not going to be using stash for, but buying. I'm looking at like some hobby yarns. I'm looking at some like knit picks yarns. I just want to do something fun and soft, but also like not, maybe I'll do a mohair. I still haven't decided because, you know, peanut butter and jelly fingers are literally like the worst enemy of mohair, especially if you are a parent of sticky children like me. So I'm thinking about like finding a nice yarn with a good halo that isn't that's going to be super durable, that isn't mohair. But yeah, my Cargill test knit, it is so wonderful. I'm really excited. I want to get this done. I want to get it done so I can wear it, because you know what, this sweater also matches my Nightshift shawl that I'm knitting by Andrea Mowry, and like the two together, I think I've said this before, but the two together is just like chef's kiss. It's like wonderful. So that's my plan. This is my Cargill sweater. Hopefully by the time the next episode comes out, release day will have happened. I will have a finished Cargill sweater, and maybe a little release day episode. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, there's my second work in progress. And now let's talk about my third work in progress, which is a sewing project. So I don't know if y'all remember, but I went and got a wonderful fabric haul from the thrift store and also Walmart, and found this fabric, this lovely fabric, which I am turning into my second pair of Clyde Workpants. I'm so excited. This fabric is very drapey. It's also very nice. And it's got this white pinstripe. Here's the pocket, if you haven't seen the pocket before. Let me help. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Nice, deep pocket. And so this is one panel of the pants. And then I did have a little sewing conundrum. where instead of mirroring this panel, I made the second one identical. So one side is done correctly, but when you add the other side, it shows the inside instead. I hope that makes sense. So that means I had to pick one of the panels that I had fully sewn it. I mean, I had pieced it together. I had finished the edges, thankfully, with a zigzag stitch. And I had done the top stitching. It was devastating. I had to use my seam ripper, and over like a few days, because my time is very limited, seam rip my one panel and like switch the sides over so it's actually mirrored, because it's the pocket facing and the side of the pocket on one side, the front and the back. And so I literally had to swap the front and the back, which means all the seam ripping. And finally, I got it done, but I still have to sew everything back together again. So learn from my mistake. Always triple check your sewing before you piece it together. Always check. Always. And usually I'm really good about it, but everything has been chaotic. I also made the mistake of sewing while sleepy. Don't do that either. Sewing while sleepy is like the worst thing you can possibly do to your future self. It's horrible. But it's done. I have taken care of it. And so now I can work on making the mirrored panel and making these pants beautiful, and sew on the elastic, and I will have a second pair of Clyde work pants in a lovely color. I think like the teals, that's a little too green for that, but yeah, I think this is like becoming my fall color palette. I don't know, I'm just becoming like more and more obsessed with like blues, pinks, teals, greens. Like, if I'm like thinking about like all of the colors that I've chosen for myself, it's definitely like pastel, but I don't know, rustic pastel, if that's a vibe. But yeah, I'm really excited. I love the Clyde work pants. If you haven't sewn a pair of the Clyde work pants before, I highly recommend you do. Not only do you get 2 giant pockets that literally fit so much things, so much stuff, it has an elastic waistband that is like super great to like in an ingenious way. There's like literally like you don't have to thread any elastic through the pants. It's like you sew it and then you fold it and then you sew it. Pretty ingenious. They're super comfortable, and it's size inclusive, which I think is like key when it comes to cute pants, big pockets, and they don't look like horrible. They actually look super cute and chic. So yeah, Clyde work pants. They're so cute, so great. But yeah, those are my works in progress. I guess we should talk about finished objects. So, these are my one and only finished objects of the month, and it is these vanilla socks. I have a recipe that I use that I have kind of honed over the years for my foot. I recommend everyone do that, especially for vanilla socks, because you never know what kind of heel you want, what kind of toe you want, etc. But yeah, I have my own little recipe that I've kind of combined from like 7 different patterns and also just my own foot measurements. And I used 2.5 millimeter needles, my 9-inch Chaigu circulars to make these socks. This is also knit up in hot pink mystery yarn that I received from a friend's mom. You may have heard me in the past tell the story of the mystery tub of yarn on the side of the road that turned out to be lovely quality yarns that she sent to me. Yeah, and these are really wonderful. Here is a little close-up. They're great. One thing I like to do, because I don't like a hexagon looking toe, is I overshoot the toe, like sewing up to the toe by like maybe 5 or 6 rows. And then I do like a rapid decrease on the toe and it makes it round. I know there's other ways to make the toe round, but like it's my favorite way of doing it. And yeah, so like I think here's a good, it's not quite hexagonal, but it's definitely rounded. There's a little piece I need to clip off from my end that I wove in. But yeah, that's how I like to do my toes. And so they actually fit a little bit better that way. Yeah, but this is my one finished object. I really do wish I had more. My pants would have been a finished object if I would have just gotten it together and not sew everything all weird. But yeah, these are so comfortable. I am using these as part of my M to the 3rd sock along for the year 2022. If you don't follow Mackenzie of M to the 3rd, you should. She's wonderful. She's a dear friend. And yeah, I need to use the hashtag when I post these after this episode is up. And you too can join in on the sock along if sock stash along if you like. It's never too late to join. And it's just, you know, there's, I think you like have a mystery. What Mackenzie did, I should say, is had I think her partner Kay pick and wrap different skeins of sock yarn that were just sitting in stash, and then each month you knit a pair of socks by picking the skein out of a basket. You don't even know what it is, and then you open it up. Ooh, surprise, it's like an advent. And then you knit a pair of socks that month. And so by the end of the year, hopefully, if you started on time, unlike me, you would have 12 pairs of socks at the end of the year. I think it was a wonderful idea, and I'm very late to start on it because my life is chaos. But I started last month, and this is my month of August pair of socks. And these are the month of September pair of socks. But yeah, follow Mackenzie, join the sock stash along. It's super fun. Yeah, so that is it for my finished objects. Let's talk about some making plans. All right, y'all. I have this fabric, and it's really fun. It's gray, it's kind of brown, it's got pinstripes, there's a lot of it, the drape is really nice. I was thinking about using this fabric to make another pair of Clyde Workpants, but I decided against, because I feel like I need a fall staple dress. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to sew the Peppermint magazine everyday dress, mostly because that waist strap is super cute to me. And it looks like a really fun, easy, functional dress that I can wear throughout the day with some like woven tights or leggings and some hand knit socks. And so that's what this is going to be. Of course, I have to finish my Clyde Workpants before I can start another sewing project. For garment, that is. I'm still going to be working on my quilt. Yeah, I finished a panel. I'm not sure if I showed any of y'all this, but this is one panel. I have not cut it yet. So yeah, that's another one of my sewing projects. Quilt, everyday dress. Knitting wise, I have plans to finish my shawl, my Nightshift shawl by Andrea Mowry, and my coat for Roxane by Katrin Schneider. And for casting on, I'm really excited that Laura of Penrose Knits just put out the chunky souffle. I loved the original souffle, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do anything like light fingering weight. I'm pretty sure it's fingering weight. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, Laura. But when she announced that she was gonna be doing the chunky souffle and testing for it, I got super excited because I've been wanting a chunky sweater, but I don't want anything that's just like, I don't know, not like plain, but like I wasn't looking for something classic. I wanted something that was a little fun. And so now that the chunky souffle has released, I got the pattern and I'm already like hunting down yarn to make this sweater because I do not have another sweater quantity in my stash. I think that's wrong. I do have a sweater quantity, but it's not what I want to use for the chunky souffle. So yeah, that is on my plans to knit chunky souffle. And then other knitting plans, I might knit myself an Inclinations cowl also by Andrea Mowry. I don't know. I haven't decided on like colors yet. I really want to be intentional about the colors that I use. I'm like, I don't know. Socks I don't care about. Socks can be fun and crazy and wild and cool, but like I really want like some of my sweaters from here on out to be a little more curated and so I actually wear them. And the last thing I want to knit up, which after saying like I don't want a like wild looking sweater, is I want to like go through, aside from knitting socks, I want to go through all of my fingering weight yarn that is in my stash. And so my idea is to make a folded collar, raglan, oversized, chunky sweater out of all of my stash yarns. And I mean like holding 4 different fingering weight yarns together and knitting them with chunky needles to make this sweater. And it's like the ultimate scrap busting sweater idea. I mean, I think the only thing I've done that with is a Stephen West garter squish blanket. But I didn't even really finish that, and I might just like I-cord edge it and then turn it into an infinity cowl because it kind of looks like fun and warm and cozy. But yeah, that's the plan, is to just like try to get through as much of my stash as possible so I can finally feel okay with buying yarn again. Like, instead of like one off here and there. Because there is like a lot of different yarns that I want to try. And I've been like watching a bunch of podcasts with like so many people using all of these amazing yarns, and instead of, I don't want to impulse buy anything. I really want to like, and this is my own personal practice, I just want to like buy colorways and such with intention, because I really am kind of picky about color, more so than I was when I first started knitting. And it like really shows. Like, a lot of my older knits are very like chaotic and colorful, and I hardly wear them for some reason aside from around the house. And so I really want to just like cater to my changing tastes as a knitter, and cater to that in my yarn choices when I'm purchasing yarn. And there's some beautiful yarns out there that I really want to try and work with. So yeah, those are my knitting goals. Those are my future yarn buying plans. I also want to finish my spinning projects. I've had the same fiber on the wheel for so long, and I feel so bad about it, but it is literally over 100 degrees outside some days, and I cannot bring myself to spin, and fall still isn't here. So I'm not gonna spin until it feels good outside to like spin. But yeah, that is the plan. That is the goal. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out. Comment your knitting plans, your fall plans, making plans below. I'd love to hear about them. If you're interested in supporting the channel through Club Obsidian, click that link to subscribe. If joining Club Obsidian is not for you, you can still buy me a coffee if you want to continue supporting the channel, or telling your friends, family, whoever you think would enjoy this podcast about the podcast. Thank you all for spending time with me, and until my next video, happy making.